The wrench slipped from my greasy fingers as I heard my daughter's voice cut through the garage air like a rusty blade. "He's a loser, Mom. You deserve to be happy. Jake actually cares about you. Dad's just angry and pathetic." I lay there under my pickup truck at 11:30 on a Tuesday night, motor oil dripping onto my forehead, listening to my 16-year-old daughter tear me apart in our driveway. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, literally underneath something, getting walked all over from above. Story of my goddamn life. "Sophia, keep your voice down," Elena hissed. My wife of 18 years, the woman I'd built a business for, bought a house for, sacrificed my back and knuckles for, in this grease-stained garage. But you're right. Your father doesn't understand what I need anymore. What she needed. Christ, what Elena needed could fill a warehouse. Designer yoga pants, organic everything, that ridiculous wellness spa she'd convinced me to help finance. The same spa where she'd apparently been getting very personal with my former best friend, Jake Morrison. I'd suspected for weeks. The late meetings, the new underwear, the way she'd started pronouncing quinoa like she was speaking French. But hearing it from my own daughter's mouth, that was a special kind of knife twist. "Jake's taking us to that new restaurant in Springfield tomorrow," Elena continued. "The one with the 5-star rating. He knows how to treat a woman. Unlike your pathetic husband," she might as well have added. I could practically hear the unspoken words hanging in the humid August air. I waited until their footsteps disappeared into the house before sliding out from under the truck. "My name is Danny Kowalski. I'm 42 years old, and I've been fixing things my whole life. Cars, appliances, other people's problems. But apparently, I couldn't fix my own marriage. Our town, Millbrook, Ohio, used to be something. Back when the steel mill ran 3 shifts and men like my father could buy a house, raise a family, and retire with dignity. Now it's all strip malls and chain restaurants, the kind of place where everybody knows your business before you do. I built Kowalski Auto Repair from nothing. Started in my garage, worked 18-hour days, bled knuckles and pride until I had 6 bays and 4 employees. Elena opened Serenity Wellness Spa 3 years ago with my savings as collateral. Yoga classes, meditation sessions, overpriced smoothies. The kind of business that thrives on middle-aged women's insecurities. Jake Morrison used to help me change oil in high school. Now he sells real estate, drives a BMW, and wears cologne that costs more than my monthly insurance. He's also apparently been servicing my wife in ways that don't require a socket wrench. I walked into my kitchen, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and sat at the table where Elena paid bills and planned her new life. Her phone was charging on the counter. She left it unlocked, either careless or cruel. The text messages told the whole story. 3 months of missing you, can't wait to see you, and details that made my stomach turn. Hotel receipts, photos I wish I could unsee, plans for a weekend getaway while I watched Sophia's soccer tournament alone. But the worst part? The way Jake wrote about me. Poor Danny, clueless as always. He'll never figure it out, too busy with his greasy little garage. "Elena, you deserve so much better than that Neanderthal." Neanderthal. Right. This Neanderthal had co-signed Jake's first apartment lease when his credit was shot. I'd loaned him money, fixed his cars for free, stood as best man at his wedding before his first divorce. Some best friend. I took screenshots of everything before Elena's phone locked again. Insurance, my dad always said. You never know when you'll need it. The next morning, Elena kissed my cheek like nothing had changed. "I'll be at the spa all day," she said, adjusting her yoga top in the hallway mirror. "Late meeting tonight." "With Jake?" I asked, testing the waters. She didn't even flinch. "With potential investors. Jake's helping me expand the business. Expanding something, all right." I watched her drive away in the Honda Civic I'd bought her last Christmas, then called my only real friend in this town. Ray's bar, Ray speaking. "It's Danny. I need to talk." "Rough night? Come by around 2. Lunch crowd'll be gone." Ray Kowalski, no relation, despite the name, had owned the same dive bar for 15 years. He'd seen every kind of human misery walk through his doors. If anyone could help me figure out my next move, it was Ray. I spent the morning working on Mrs. Henderson's Buick, trying to focus on something I could actually fix. But my mind kept drifting to Elena and Jake, probably planning their future while I rotated tires and changed filters. At 2 o'clock sharp, I walked into Ray's bar. The place smelled like stale beer and broken dreams, with neon signs advertising brands that went out of business decades ago. Ray was wiping down glasses behind the bar, his weathered face creased with the kind of wisdom that comes from listening to other people's problems. "You look like someone pissed in your cornflakes," Ray said, pouring me a whiskey without being asked. "Worse. Someone's been pissing on my entire life." I told him everything. The overheard conversation, the text messages, the months of lies and deception. Ray listened without interruption, occasionally nodding or refilling my glass. "So what are you going to do about it?" he asked when I finished. "I don't know. Confront them? File for divorce? Beat the shit out of Jake?" "All terrible ideas," Ray said. "You confront them, they'll just get better at hiding it. You file for divorce now, Elena gets half your business and Jake gets the girl. You beat up Jake, you go to jail and they get sympathy. Then what?" Ray leaned across the bar, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You want my advice? Don't get mad, get even. Make them sweat. Hit them where it hurts, their reputations, their money, their precious little fantasy. This town loves a good scandal, Danny. Give them one." I left Ray's bar with a plan forming in my mind. Not revenge, exactly. Justice. Elena and Jake wanted to play games? Fine. But they were about to learn that this Neanderthal knew a few tricks they'd never expect. That evening, I followed Elena to her investor meeting. Sure enough, she drove straight to the Riverside Motel, the kind of place that rents rooms by the hour and doesn't ask questions. Jake's BMW was already parked outside room 12. I sat in my truck for an hour, watching shadows move behind the curtains, feeling something cold and hard settle in my chest. When I was sure they were occupied, I got out and walked over to Jake's precious car. The key made a beautiful sound as it scraped along the driver's side door, deep enough to require a full repaint, not deep enough to be considered felony vandalism. I left a note under his windshield wiper. "Next time, it's your face." As I drove home, I noticed Mrs. Barlow from next door standing in her yard with her phone out, taking pictures of something. The old bat never missed anything that happened on our street. She was the town's unofficial gossip network, and nothing escaped her attention. My phone buzzed with a text from Elena. "Meeting running late. Don't wait up." I texted back, "No problem. Sleep well." But I had a feeling none of us would be sleeping well for much longer. Mrs. Barlow knocked on my door at 7 the next morning, holding her phone like a smoking gun. "Danny, dear, I thought you should see this." She showed me a photo of my truck parked outside the Riverside Motel. "I was walking Precious last night and saw you there. Is everything all right?" Precious was her ancient Pomeranian, and Mrs. Barlow's evening walks were legendary reconnaissance missions. She knew about every affair, every financial problem, every family secret in a 6-block radius. "Just checking on a friend," I said carefully. "Of course, dear." Though I did notice Elena's car at that new restaurant with Jake Morrison around the same time. Such a small world, isn't it? The old woman's eyes twinkled with malicious glee. She'd connected the dots faster than a supercomputer. In about 6 hours, half the town would know that Danny Kowalski was lurking around the Riverside Motel while his wife dined with Jake Morrison. "Mrs. Barlow, I'd appreciate if you kept this between us for now." "Oh, absolutely, dear. You know how I hate gossip, right? And I hate fixing cars." Elena came home that morning with a cold fury I'd never seen before. She slammed the door hard enough to rattle the windows. "What the hell did you do to Jake's car?" Good morning to you too, honey. Coffee's fresh. Don't play dumb with me, Danny. Someone keyed his BMW last night. Left a threatening note. The police might get involved. I sipped my coffee slowly, enjoying the moment. That's terrible. Any idea who might have done such a thing? Cut the act. I know it was you. Prove it. Elena's face went through several shades of red. This is exactly why we're having problems. You're paranoid, jealous, and frankly embarrassing. Jake is helping me with business expansion, nothing more. Business expansion. Is that what we're calling it now? What's that supposed to mean? I pulled out my phone and showed her one of the screenshots from her text messages. Her face went white. You went through my phone? You left it unlocked. I was curious about your business expansion plans. Elena grabbed her purse and headed for the door. I'm staying at my sister's tonight. We'll talk when you've calmed down. Give my regards to Jake, I called after her. Tell him I hope his car situation works out. The door slam nearly cracked the frame. I spent the day at the garage, but my heart wasn't in it. My employees, Tommy, Miguel, and old Pete, could tell something was wrong. They'd all worked for me for years, knew Elena, had been to our barbecues and Christmas parties. Boss, you okay? Tommy asked around lunchtime. You've been staring at that alternator for 20 minutes. Wife troubles, I said. Ah, shit. Sorry, man. Anything we can do? Just keep the business running. I might be distracted for a while. That evening, I drove to Ray's bar again. The place was busier than usual, filled with the after-work crowd drowning their sorrows in cheap beer and cheaper whiskey. Heard you had some excitement last night, Ray said, sliding me a drink. News travels fast. Mrs. Barlow was in here an hour ago. Told everyone who'd listen about your late-night motel visit. Also mentioned seeing Elena at dinner with Jake Morrison. Perfect. The gossip mill was already churning. What's the general consensus? Split down the middle. Half the town thinks you're a jealous psycho. The other half thinks Elena's stepping out on you. Either way, you're the talk of Millbrook. Great. Just what I always wanted. Danny, listen to me. You're at a crossroads here. You can either roll over and let them walk all over you, or you can fight back. But if you fight, you better win. This town doesn't forgive losers. I thought about that as I drove home to my empty house. Elena's sister lived 2 towns over, but I knew she wasn't there. Jake had a new condo on the other side of Millbrook, one of those modern places with granite countertops and a view of the river. My phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. Dad, Mom told me what happened. You need help. I called her immediately. Sophia, where are you? At Aunt Lisa's. Mom's here too, she's crying. What did she tell you? That you're having some kind of breakdown, that you vandalized Jake's car and accused her of cheating. Dad, this isn't like you. The disappointment in my daughter's voice cut deeper than Elena's betrayal. Sophia had always been Daddy's little girl, but at 16, she was old enough to choose sides. And it sounded like she'd already chosen. Sophia, there's more to this story than your mother told you. Like what? I almost showed her the text messages, almost destroyed her image of her mother to save my own reputation. But I couldn't do it. Not yet. We'll talk when you get home. I'm staying here tonight. Maybe longer. Mom says you need space to work through your issues. After she hung up, I sat in my kitchen staring at the photos on the refrigerator. Family vacations, Sophia's soccer games, Elena's spa grand opening. 18 years of marriage reduced to magnetic memories on white appliances. The next day was Friday, and Sophia had a soccer game at the high school. I'd never missed one of her games, and I wasn't about to start now. But when I arrived at the field, I realized Elena had the same idea. She was sitting in the bleachers with Jake Morrison, both of them wearing matching sunglasses like some kind of power couple. Jake had his arm around her shoulders, and Elena was laughing at something he'd said. The other parents noticed immediately. Whispers rippled through the stands as I climbed to an empty section on the opposite side. Mrs. Henderson, whose Buick I'd just fixed, gave me a sympathetic nod. Bob Martinez, who coached Little League with me for 3 years, pretended not to see me at all. During halftime, Jake walked over to the concession stand. I followed him. "Danny," he said, not bothering to remove his sunglasses, "I heard about your little tantrum the other night." "Jake, how's the car?" "Insurance will cover it, but the police report stays on file. You should think about anger management." I stepped closer, close enough to smell his expensive cologne. "You should think about what happens to people who betray their friends." "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise." Jake tried to stare me down, but I'd been in real fights with real men who'd worked real jobs. Real estate agents who spent their days showing houses to soccer moms didn't intimidate me. "Elena's happy now," Jake said finally. "Happier than she's been in years. You should let her go." "Funny thing about happiness," I replied. "It's usually temporary." I walked away before the conversation could escalate, but I felt the eyes of every parent in those bleachers watching us. The story would be all over town by dinner time. Sophia played well, scoring 2 goals in a 3-1 victory. But when the game ended, she ran to Elena and Jake instead of me. They drove away together in Jake's rental car. Apparently the BMW was still in the shop. That night, I made a decision. If Elena and Jake wanted to play their games in public, I'd give them a stage they'd never forget. Saturday morning, I woke up with the clarity that comes from having nothing left to lose. Elena had texted me overnight, "Getting my things Monday." "We need to talk about separation terms." Separation terms. Like our marriage was a business contract being dissolved. I drove to the bank and moved half our joint savings into a new account, perfectly legal since my name was on everything. Then I called the Honda dealership and canceled Elena's car lease, also legal since I was the primary leaseholder. Next stop, the courthouse. I filed for divorce and requested a restraining order based on emotional distress and adultery. The clerk, a woman named Betty, who'd gone to high school with Elena, raised her eyebrows but processed the paperwork without comment. By noon, I was having lunch at Ray's bar, planning my next move. "You're moving fast," Ray observed, refilling my beer. "Elena wants to play hardball. I'm just matching her energy." "What about Sophia?" That was the question that kept me awake at night. My daughter was caught in the middle of this war, and I wasn't sure which side she'd choose when the smoke cleared. She's 16, old enough to understand the truth. And if she doesn't want to hear it, I didn't have an answer for that. Around 2 o'clock, Mrs. Barlow appeared at the bar like a harbinger of chaos. She ordered a Diet Coke and positioned herself within earshot of my conversation with Ray. "Mrs. Barlow," I said loudly enough for the whole bar to hear, "have you met Jake Morrison's wife?" The old woman's eyes lit up. "Jake Morrison? The real estate agent? I didn't know he was married." "Oh, he's not. Divorced last year, but he's been spending a lot of time with married women lately, particularly ones who own wellness spas." Mrs. Barlow practically vibrated with excitement. "How interesting. You know, I did see him at Elena's spa several times after hours. I walk Precious past there on our evening route." "Really? How professional of them." I finished my beer and left, knowing that Mrs. Barlow would spread that conversation to every gossip network in Millbrook by sunset. Monday morning, Elena showed up at my house with Jake and a U-Haul truck. I was waiting for them in the driveway, holding a manila envelope. "Danny, we need to keep this civil," Elena said, climbing out of the passenger seat. "For Sophia's sake." "Absolutely. Here are your separation terms." I handed her the envelope. Inside were the divorce papers, the restraining order, and a bill for her half of the spa's startup costs. Money I'd fronted from our joint savings 3 years ago. Elena's face went through several emotions as she read. "You can't be serious." "Dead serious. You want a separation? Fine. but you don't get to keep the money I invested in your business while you're sleeping with my former best friend. Jake stepped forward. Danny, let's be reasonable here. Reasonable? You mean like sneaking around behind my back for 3 months? That kind of reasonable? We didn't plan for this to happen, Elena said. These things just develop. Right. Like cancer. I watched them load Elena's belongings into the truck, making note of everything she took. The expensive yoga equipment I'd bought her, the meditation cushions, the organic tea collection, all purchased with money I'd earned fixing other people's broken-down cars. Where's Sophia? I asked as they finished loading. Staying with my sister until this gets resolved, Elena replied. She doesn't need to see you like this. Like what? Angry, bitter, vindictive. I prefer honest. After they left, I walked through my empty house, cataloging the damage. Elena had taken half of everything, including things that weren't technically hers, but she'd also left behind 18 years of memories that I wasn't sure what to do with. That afternoon, I got a call from my lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Chen, who specialized in messy divorces. Danny, I've reviewed the papers. Elena's attorney is claiming emotional distress and demanding alimony based on your erratic behavior. What erratic behavior? The car vandalism, the public confrontations, the sudden financial moves. They're painting you as unstable. And what do you recommend? Document everything. Keep your cool. Don't give them ammunition to use against you. Too late for that advice, but I appreciated the sentiment. That evening, I drove past Elena's spa. The lights were on, and I could see her inside with 2 other women, her business partners, Trish and Monica. They were having what looked like a heated discussion. I parked across the street and watched. After 20 minutes, Trish stormed out, slamming the door behind her. She stood on the sidewalk for a moment, then walked directly to my truck. Danny? Danny Kowalski? Trish, how are you? Pissed off, actually. Can we talk? I rolled down my window. Trish was Elena's oldest friend, a sharp-tongued woman who'd never particularly liked me. If she wanted to talk, something big was happening. Elena's been lying to us, Trish said without preamble. About the business finances. About her certifications. About a lot of things. Such as, she never got her yoga instructor certification, been faking it for 3 years, the meditation training she claims to have, complete bullshit, and the money she said you invested? She told us it was a gift from your parents' estate. This was news to me. My parents were very much alive and living in Florida. Why are you telling me this? Because I've got $15,000 invested in that spa, and if it goes under because Elena's been running a scam, I lose everything. Trish leaned closer to my window. There's something else. Jake Morrison's been pressuring Elena to sell the spa and move to Columbus with him. Start fresh somewhere else. But the business is in debt. More debt than she's admitted to anyone. How much debt? 40,000? Maybe more. Unpaid suppliers, back rent, equipment loans. Elena's been juggling payments for months. I felt a cold smile spread across my face. Elena's perfect new life was built on quicksand, and she didn't even know it. Trish, what would you say to helping me expose the truth? What kind of help? The kind that saves your investment and gives Elena exactly what she deserves. Trish considered this for a long moment. What did you have in mind? 2 weeks later, everything was in place. Trish had done her homework, gathering financial records, certification documents, and client testimonials that painted a very different picture of Serenity Wellness Spa than Elena's marketing materials suggested. I'd moved into a rented warehouse space on the outskirts of town, officially to expand my auto repair business, but really to set up the perfect stage for what was coming next. The warehouse was a cavernous space with concrete floors, high ceilings, and excellent acoustics. I'd installed a sound system that could reach every corner of the building, plus security cameras that streamed live to social media platforms. All perfectly legal, since it was my property and I'd posted signs warning about surveillance. Elena had been trying to contact me through lawyers, friends, and even Sophia. The divorce proceedings were getting uglier by the day, with each side accusing the other of financial misconduct and emotional abuse. But I had something they didn't know about: Trish's evidence and Mrs. Barlow's extensive photo collection. The old woman had been documenting Elena and Jake's affair for months, thinking she might need the information someday. She was right. On a rainy Thursday evening, I sent identical messages to Elena, Jake, and Trish. Final settlement meeting tonight, 8 p.m., Kowalski Warehouse, 1247 Industrial Drive. Come alone. Bring all financial documents. I arrived early to set up. The warehouse was divided into sections by hanging plastic sheets, the kind used in auto body shops to contain paint fumes. I'd arranged folding chairs in the center of the main space, with speakers hidden throughout the building. Elena arrived first, looking nervous but determined. She wore a business suit and carried a leather briefcase, playing the role of successful entrepreneur to the end. "Danny, what is this place?" "My new shop. Expanding the business. It's freezing in here." "Sorry, haven't installed the heating yet." Jake showed up 10 minutes later, also carrying a briefcase and wearing his most expensive suit. He looked around the warehouse with obvious distaste. "This is where you wanted to meet? Couldn't we have done this at a lawyer's office?" "I wanted privacy," I said. "No lawyers, no judges, no court reporters. Just us." Trish was the last to arrive, and Elena's face showed surprise when she walked in. "Trish? What are you doing here?" "I invited her," I said. "She has some things to share about your business practices." Elena's confident expression cracked slightly. "Danny, if this is some kind of ambush, sit down, all of you." They took the chairs I'd arranged, with Elena and Jake on one side, Trish on the other. I remained standing, holding a wireless microphone connected to the sound system. "Before we discuss settlement terms," I began, my voice echoing through the warehouse, "I think we should clear the air about a few things." I pressed a button on a remote control, and Elena's voice filled the warehouse. "He's so clueless, Jake. Yesterday he actually thanked you for helping with the business. If he only knew what kind of help you've been giving me." Jake's laughter followed. "Poor Danny. Still thinks we're friends. Still thinks his precious Elena is faithful." Elena went white. "Where did you get that?" "Your phone calls have been very educational. Turns out, Jake likes to put you on speaker when he's driving." I played more recordings, conversations I'd captured using perfectly legal voice-activated recording apps on phones I'd given them as gifts months earlier. Every intimate detail, every cruel joke at my expense, every plan they'd made for their future together. "You're insane," Jake said, standing up. "This is harassment." "Sit down, Jake. We're just getting started." I pressed another button, and the warehouse sprinkler system activated. Not a malfunction. I'd had it installed specifically for this moment. Water rained down on all of us, soaking Elena's expensive suit and Jake's perfect hair. "Danny, stop this!" Elena screamed, but her voice was drowned out by the sound of water hitting concrete. "Trish, would you like to share what you discovered about Elena's business practices?" Trish, who'd been prepared for the sprinkler system, stood up and pulled out a waterproof folder. "Elena Kowalski has been operating Serenity Wellness Spa under false pretenses for 3 years. She has no certification in yoga instruction, meditation training, or nutritional counseling. She's also $47,000 in debt and has been using client payments to cover personal expenses." "That's a lie!" Elena shouted. "I have the bank records," Trish continued. "Plus testimonials from clients who discovered Elena's lack of credentials and are considering legal action." I activated another remote control, and every screen in the warehouse, I'd installed several, began streaming live video to Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. The feeds showed Elena and Jake, soaking wet and furious, being confronted with evidence of their deception. "Danny, turn off those cameras right now," Jake demanded. "Why?" I thought you liked being seen together in public. The live stream was already attracting viewers. Mrs. Barlow had shared it with her extensive social media network, and comments were pouring in from people all over Millbrook. You want to know the really funny part? I said, circling their chairs like a predator. Jake's been planning to dump you, Elena? Tell her, Jake. Tell her about the Columbus job offer. Jake's face went even paler than the warehouse lighting suggested. I don't know what you're talking about. The real estate firm in Columbus, the one that offered you a partnership, the one you accepted last week without telling Elena. I played another recording, Jake talking to his new employer, discussing his start date and his plans to leave some baggage behind in Millbrook. Elena turned to Jake with murder in her eyes. You were going to leave me? Elena, I can explain. After I destroyed my marriage for you? After I risked everything? It's not like that. Elena slapped Jake hard enough that the sound echoed through the warehouse. The live stream viewers loved it, judging by the flood of laughing emojis in the comments. And there's one more thing, I said, savoring the moment. Elena, remember that paternity test I insisted on when Sophia was born? The one you said was unnecessary because you were sure I was the father? Elena's face went completely white. Danny, don't. I had it done anyway, without telling you. Because even then, I suspected you weren't entirely faithful. I pulled out a manila envelope, the same kind I'd used to serve her divorce papers. Sophia isn't my biological daughter. She's actually the daughter of your college boyfriend, the one you told me you'd broken up with before we got serious. The warehouse fell silent, except for the sound of dripping water. Elena collapsed back into her chair. Jake stared at me in shock, and Trish looked like she was watching the best movie of her life. The really beautiful part, I continued, is that your college boyfriend, Marcus Webb, is now a successful doctor in Cleveland. Married, 3 kids, pillar of the community. I wonder how his wife would feel about learning she has a 16-year-old stepdaughter. Elena started crying, ugly, desperate sobs that echoed through the warehouse. Jake looked like he wanted to run, but couldn't figure out which direction to go. So here's my final settlement offer, I announced to both them and the live stream audience. Elena, you get nothing. No alimony, no property settlement, no claim on my business. In exchange, I don't press charges for fraud, embezzlement, or false paternity claims. You can't prove any of that, Jake said weakly. Actually, I can. Trish has been very helpful in documenting Elena's business fraud. Mrs. Barlow has photos of your affair going back 6 months, and I have 18 years of financial records showing how Elena spent my money on everything from fake certifications to hotel rooms. I turned off the sprinkler system and the live stream, leaving them sitting in puddles of water and ruined dignity. You have 24 hours to vacate Elena's spa and return all equipment purchased with my money. Jake, you have 48 hours to leave Millbrook permanently. If either of you contacts me, Sophia, or anyone in my family again, I'll release everything to the police, the IRS, and every social media platform in existence. I walked toward the warehouse exit, then turned back for one final moment. Oh, and Jake? You might want to check your credit report. Turns out Elena's been using your information to open accounts for her failing business. You're on the hook for about $30,000 in spa-related debt. Jake's face went from pale to green. What? Elena's very resourceful when it comes to other people's money. Just ask my bank account. I left them there in the warehouse, soaking wet, financially ruined, and publicly humiliated. The live stream had been viewed by over 3,000 people, including most of Millbrook's adult population. My phone was already buzzing with messages from friends, family, and complete strangers who'd watched the confrontation. But there was one message that mattered more than all the others. Dad, I saw the video. We need to talk. Sophia. The next evening was Millbrook's annual Founders' Day block party, held in the town square every August for the past 40 years. Despite everything that had happened, I decided to attend. After all, I'd lived in this town my entire life, and I wasn't about to let Elena and Jake's betrayal drive me into hiding. I arrived around 7, just as the sun was setting behind the old courthouse. The square was packed with families, couples, and groups of teenagers clustered around picnic tables. A local band was setting up on the makeshift stage, and the smell of grilled burgers and funnel cake filled the air. The reaction to my presence was immediate and divided. Some people nodded and smiled, offering words of support. Others whispered and pointed, treating me like a celebrity or a criminal. I couldn't tell which. Danny, Mrs. Henderson waved me over to her table. "That was quite a show you put on last night. My granddaughter shared that video with half her college. I hope I didn't offend anyone." "Offend?" "Honey, that was better than cable TV." Elena had it coming for years. But not everyone was supportive. Bob Martinez, the Little League coach, gave me a cold stare from across the square. His wife had been friends with Elena, and they clearly saw me as the villain in this story. I was getting a beer from the volunteer fire department's booth when I spotted Sophia sitting alone at a picnic table near the stage. She looked older than her 16 years, wearing a sundress I didn't recognize and an expression I'd never seen before. "Mind if I sit down?" She gestured to the bench across from her. "Mom's not coming tonight. She's at Aunt Lisa's, packing." "Packing for where?" "Columbus. Jake got her a job with some wellness company there. They're leaving tomorrow." I felt a mixture of relief and sadness. Elena was finally out of my life, but she was taking Sophia with her. "What about you?" I asked. "That's what I wanted to talk to you about." Sophia looked directly at me for the first time in weeks. "I saw the video, Dad. I heard the recordings. I know what Mom did to you." "Sophia, I never wanted you to get hurt by this. But I did get hurt. Finding out you're not my biological father, that Mom's been lying about everything for years. That hurts a lot." I reached across the table and took her hand. "Biology doesn't make someone a father, Sophia. I've been your dad since the day you were born, and that's never going to change. Even after everything that's happened, especially after everything that's happened." Sophia squeezed my hand. "I want to stay here. With you. I don't want to move to Columbus and pretend like none of this happened." "Are you sure? Your mother's going to fight this." "Let her fight. I'm 16, and in Ohio, I can choose which parent to live with. I choose you." Before I could respond, a commotion erupted near the stage. Jake Morrison had arrived at the block party, looking like he'd spent the day drinking. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his hair was disheveled, and he was walking with the careful precision of someone trying not to appear drunk. "Where is he?" Jake shouted, scanning the crowd. "Where's Danny Kowalski?" The band stopped setting up their equipment. Conversations died throughout the square. Everyone turned to watch the drama unfold. I stood up slowly. "I'm right here, Jake." Jake stumbled toward my table, pointing an accusatory finger. "You destroyed my life, my job, my reputation, my credit, everything. You destroyed your own life when you decided to sleep with my wife. She came on to me. Elena was miserable with you, Danny. Miserable and desperate. And you were just being a good friend by helping her out?" The crowd was growing larger, forming a circle around our confrontation. I could see phones being pulled out to record another viral moment. "You want to know the truth?" Jake slurred, swaying slightly. "Elena never loved you. She settled for you because she was pregnant and scared. She told me all about it, how she trapped you into marriage, how she's been regretting it ever since." I felt Sophia tense beside me, but I kept my voice calm. "Is that why you were planning to abandon her in Columbus?" "I wasn't abandoning her. I was figuring things out. By accepting a job without telling her? By calling her baggage to your new employer?" Jake's face flushed red with anger and embarrassment. "You had no right to record our private conversations. Actually, I had every right. It's perfectly legal to record conversations when you're a participant or when you're on your own property." Jake took a swing at me, a clumsy, drunken punch that I easily sidestepped. He stumbled forward, lost his balance, and crashed into the picnic table behind me. The crowd gasped as Jake went down, taking a plate of nachos and several drinks with him. He lay there for a moment, covered in cheese sauce and beer, looking like the pathetic shell of the man who used to be my best friend. "Need help getting up?" I offered, extending my hand. Jake slapped my hand away and struggled to his feet. "This isn't over, Danny." "Yes, it is." I pulled out my phone and showed him a screenshot of a police report. "I filed charges this morning: fraud, identity theft, and stalking. You used my personal information to co-sign Elena's business loans, remember? That's a felony." Jake's face went white. "You can't prove that." "Elena already confessed. She's trying to make a deal with the prosecutor to avoid jail time. Apparently, loyalty isn't one of her strong suits." The crowd murmured with excitement. This was better than any soap opera they'd ever watched. "But here's the beautiful part," I continued, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'm willing to drop the charges under one condition." "What condition?" I gestured to the crowd surrounding us, to the phones recording every word, to the town square where I'd grown up and built my life. "You get on that stage, take the microphone, and apologize to everyone here for what you did. Admit that you betrayed your best friend, destroyed a family, and tried to steal money from a local business. Do that, and I'll let you slink away to Columbus with whatever dignity you have left." Jake looked at the stage, then at the crowd, then back at me. "You're insane if you think I'm going to humiliate myself like that." "Then enjoy explaining your felony conviction to your new employer. I'm sure they'll be very understanding." The standoff lasted for nearly a minute. Jake weighing his options, the crowd holding its breath, phones capturing every second of his internal struggle. Finally, Jake walked to the stage and picked up the microphone. He started, then stopped. The feedback from the speakers echoed across the square. "I want to apologize to Danny Kowalski and his family for my actions over the past few months. I betrayed a friendship that meant everything to me, and I hurt people who didn't deserve it. I'm sorry." The apology was weak and obviously forced, but it was enough. Jake set down the microphone and walked away from the stage, pushing through the crowd toward the parking lot. I never saw him again. As the excitement died down and the band resumed setting up, I sat back down with Sophia. The evening air was cooling, and the first stars were becoming visible above the courthouse dome. "Dad," Sophia said quietly, "what happens now?" "Now we go home. We figure out how to be a family again. We move forward." "What about Mom?" "Your mother made her choices. Now she has to live with the consequences." Sophia nodded, understanding more about adult relationships than any 16-year-old should have to. As we walked home through the familiar streets of Millbrook, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. Not happiness, exactly, but the calm that comes from finally telling the truth and accepting the results. Elena left for Columbus the next morning without saying goodbye. She took her clothes, her yoga equipment, and what remained of her dignity. She left behind 18 years of marriage, a daughter who no longer trusted her, and a town that would remember her story for decades. 6 months later, I received divorce papers in the mail. Elena had signed away all claims to my property, my business, and any future contact with Sophia. In exchange, I'd agreed not to pursue criminal charges for the financial fraud. It was the best deal I'd ever made. Sophia thrived in her senior year of high school, making honor roll and earning a scholarship to Ohio State. She never spoke to her mother again, though I sometimes caught her staring at old family photos with a sadness I couldn't fix. My auto repair business expanded into the warehouse space, and I hired 3 more employees. Turns out, being the center of Millbrook's biggest scandal in decades was actually good for business. People liked supporting the underdog, especially when the underdog had been so thoroughly vindicated. Mrs. Barlow became something of a local celebrity, giving interviews to anyone who would listen about her role in exposing the affair. She started a blog called Millbrook Mysteries that attracted readers from 3 counties. Trish reopened the wellness spa under new management, with proper certifications and honest marketing. She sent me a fruit basket on the first anniversary of the warehouse confrontation, with a note that read, "Thanks for helping me dodge a bullet." As for me, I learned that revenge is a dish best served with an audience, a sound system, and a sprinkler system. I also learned that sometimes the best way to win a war is to let your enemies destroy themselves while you provide the stage. But most importantly, I learned that being called a villain isn't always an insult. Sometimes it just means you were willing to fight back when everyone expected you to roll over and take it. They called me the villain. Good. Every story needs one. 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 One.